Great to have you along for the ride. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Glad to have this young lady back. It's Dr. Carol Swain, political scientist, best-selling author, CarolMSwain.com, and a friend of mine. Carol, how are you? Good to see you again.
I am great, and I'm very excited about the release of my new book.
Now, this is great because you wrote a new book about what just happened with this woman, Gay, over at Harvard, and maybe she can take the book and then steal some stuff out of it. That'd be kind of cool.
Well, I hope it's a wake-up call for
Oh,
Harvard
it was
and
it
institutions like
was a dumb joke, but I mean, if we know her, if we get her history, she'll take the new book and then write her own book and steal everything out of your book. So let's get into it. For those who are watching and listening, when this Claudine Gay thing came up, she was the president of Harvard at the time. She's still somehow making like $1 million a year. They didn't get rid of her, but she had to admit, or they had to admit, that she was lifting things off of a bunch of works, and you were the sort of the target of a lot of what she was doing when it comes to plagiarizing. So just tell me what goes into realizing when it was your stuff that she was accused of stealing.
First of all, Joe, this is the anniversary of when I discovered that I had been plagiarized 26 years ago.
Wow.
And so this book, the official release date for this book is January 2nd, 2025, which is the anniversary of Claudine Gay's resignation from Harvard.
Right.
And you may recall that her resignation had to do with the plagiarism, but also her inability to address anti-Semitism at Harvard.
That was because she was in front of the panel. I believe it was Elise Stefanik out of New York who was asking those very, very important questions, and she could not admit that anti-Semitism was a problem on the campus. That was right. How this all came to light.
Well, and the investigations about her plagiarism, there had been a reporter that I discussed in the book that had been trying for a long time to get traction, and people were afraid of the issue because it was Harvard. We know that they have a $50 billion endowment. But after she gave that disastrous testimony before Congress, Chris Rufo, he and Christopher Brunette broke the story on Twitter. And then Arian Sabarian with the Free Washington Beacon.
Yeah.
He also did investigations. And then little by little, everything unraveled. So there's a reason why this book is being published when it is at this date. It's the anniversary of when all of this began for me. And it's been a long journey because I went through a range of emotions, and I hired attorneys, and I thought I was going to sue Harvard.
Right.
But at some point, I talk about a conversation I had with a Vanderbilt professor who was very eminent, Professor Jim Blumstein, and he used language I could really understand about the risk to me of going forward with trying to sue Harvard. Under copyright law, if you file a suit and you lose, loser pays. And so had I filed the suit against Harvard and lost, I might be paying the legal fees. But what I've done instead is write this book, and in the appendices, I have excerpts of the letters from Harvard, letters my attorney sent them, and the full legal complaint that would have been filed if I had not changed my mind.
Gotcha. Let me ask you this. It's Dr. Carol Swain. She was plagiarized by Claudine Gay. Has Harvard ever admitted it? Because at one point they were saying repurposing and reusing and rethinking. Did they ever say, yes, she plagiarized from you?
No, they have never even mentioned my name in any of the stories. And she made some corrections to her dissertation. She may have corrected some articles, but my name is never mentioned. And in the book, I talk about, to me, I can get very emotional and worked up about this,
right?
Because I had a prize-winning book in the 1990s, Black Faces, Black Interests, the Representation of African Americans in Congress. I argue in my book that she used my book to set up the straw man for her research question.
Right. And
she did not include me in her literature review, but there were verbatim places where she lifted sentences and, words and paragraphs, things that she lifted from my work without attribution. But Harvard, instead of admitting that she had plagiarized, they said she engaged in duplicative language without attribution.
That's plagiarism. That's, you know what I mean? I mean, so without saying it, they said it.
And it also violates the policies they have in place, the standards they hold students to. And so the book deals with more than Claudine Gay, because plagiarism impacts academia, and there's a different standard for faculty than students. And I want to read you some of the chapters very
Please.
quickly, the chapter titles. I've dedicated this book to Doris Kearns Goodwin, Stephen Ambrose, Kevin Cruz, and Claudine Gay for helping to expose the deadly plague of plagiaritis that is killing academic integrity in higher education.
Nice.
So the book starts off with that introduction.
I love it.
So, some of the titles. I talk about the Gay resignation, how it impacted me, a plagiaritis pandemic, Black Sunday, the Sunday I learned about it, Hamas, plagiarism, deja vu, and a legal remedy. And Professor Blumstein, how he really caught my attention was he used an analogy of Hamas sending those fighters, over the barricade,
right,
killing, a few thousand Israelis. And what happened is Israel pretty much wiped out Gaza.
Right.
His point was never pick a fight with a bully who has the ability to wipe you out.
Yes.
And I thought about moving forward because, Joe, you've known me for a long time. My personality is I don't back down.
Right.
But I started thinking about, do I really want to go up against Harvard and lose? I was told that their lawyers were probably making $1,000 an hour. And I had visions of using my Social Security check in my retirement, paying Harvard. And I said, no to that. So I did back down. I didn't back down.
Well, not really, because you wrote the book.
I changed strategies.
Yes.
And so that's why I have the book, The Gay Affair, Harvard Plagiarism and the Death of Academic Integrity. And I hope that the book will encourage institutions of higher education to do something about this trend where they're tolerating double standards when it comes to the faculty. They throw the book at the students, but when it comes to faculty and administrators, they do nothing.
It's Dr. Carol Swain. Go follow her at carolmswain.com. And it's also Carol M. Swain on X, right?
Yes, on X. I'm very active on X. I love X. It's my favorite social media platform.
Yeah, I think I saw you on a space the other night. I dropped by for a second, but I didn't say anything. But I love how active you are over there. Go and get this book. It's called The Gay Affair, Harvard Plagiarism, the Death of Academic Integrity. It's available right now at Amazon. I urge you to go and get this, find out exactly what happened with that whole situation with Claudine Gay. Doctor, if I remember the last time we spoke, Claudine Gay would not be a PhD had it not been for this plagiarism, right?
Well, I mean, my point in the book is there's a process for getting a doctoral dissertation in the social sciences. You're supposed to have path-breaking original work, especially for the Ivy League. And you go through this, your committee is supposed to put you through a grinder, and then afterwards they give you wine and cheese and they call you doctor.
Okay.
If your work is plagiarized, how can you be a doctor? That's the question that I posed. And I'm still posing that question. And Claudine Gay, I have no animus towards her. I got very incensed when she blamed racism, but she's never picked up a phone to call me to apologize. Harvard's never acknowledged that I exist. And so they're going to find out, if they haven't found out already, that I do exist. And of all the people that she could have plagiarized, I'm the one that I'm not wired to walk away.
Right. No, I'm with you. And how disgusting is it? How stupid. It's the depth of stupidity that I don't think I've ever faced when a black woman is saying that she's being, there's racism against her when she stole it from a black woman. I don't think I understand.
When you're black,
how dumb is that?
When you're black and your back is against the wall, you can always use racism. And not only that, you're not going to believe this. In September, Harvard's Black alumni gave Claudine Gay an award.
Stop it. What was the award?
I don't know. It's for her excellence, her courage, and
The
for the
award for
fact that
stupidity. Come on, the award that she stole your work.
they
Doc, I don't
gave it.
understand it.
Well, it really bothers me because there was a time when Black excellence was something that people, it was treasured. And when you saw Black people at Harvard, for the most part, you assumed that they were excellent. I mean, they were above average. They had to be there. And I can tell you that when I got my tenure at Princeton, uh, they were not handing out tenure to Black people because they were Black. There were many people that had gone through and had failed. I wrote a prize winning, path breaking book, research funded by the National Science Foundation.
Right.
And that was the standard. But then in the 1990s, I would argue that because of affirmative action, they lowered standards to the point that they fast tracked people like Claudine Gay. And so she has maybe 11 articles, and 8 of them have evidence of plagiarism. Her dissertation.
That's crazy.
And she's making $900,000 a year. There's a problem in academia, and it needs to be addressed. And I'm hoping that my book will play a role in people looking more seriously at what's taking place, because it's not just academia. It affects K through 12 education. It affects all those institutions that look to Harvard for direction on how they should handle things. It's not going to stay at Harvard. It will impact, the whole world, because Harvard is still Harvard.
Totally. It's Dr. Carol Swain. Go and get her book. It's called The Gay Affair, Harvard Plagiarism and the Death of Academic Integrity. So she still works there. The people who run Harvard aren't stupid. You and I can agree they're pretty smart people. They know she plagiarized you. Well, no, I think they're stupid in how they're reacting, but to get where they are, there's got to be a level of intellect there somewhere. They know that what she did was plagiarism. They know that she plagiarized you. So why let her stay working there? Wouldn't they look better had they said, okay, we accept your resignation, good luck in your next job? Why does she still make almost $1 million a year there?
Well, progressives are racist. They're the most racist people of all. They believe all minorities are inferior, and they believe that if you hold racial and ethnic minorities to the same standards as whites, that you will have lily white institutions. That's like the height of racism. And not only is she still there, it was reported last spring that she is teaching this fall a course on research and reading.
Stop it.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Teaching about research. I would love to be a fly on the wall.
What is she going to teach? Okay, go find something Carol Swain wrote and go research it and then write it yourself, but steal her lines directly if you want to. The thing that blows me away is she could have avoided this just by footnoting you, right?
She could have. I was willing to grant her mercy in the beginning.
Yeah.
And what, turned me and made me angry, and I'm not a person that carries anger very well. I got angry when Harvard stood behind her and decided they would redefine plagiarism. And I got angrier when she blamed racism. But along the way, if she had called me and said she made a mistake, I believe I would have forgiven her.
Yeah.
And I don't believe I would have published the book. But it's as if I didn't exist. Oh, and Harvard attorneys said that if I filed a suit against them, it would be a frivolous lawsuit, and there would be legal, consequences for me if I filed the lawsuit. And so I'm sure that they would have, that I would be paying their legal fees if I went up against them and lost.
No, I agree with you.
I saw all the lawfare being used against Donald Trump. And I was so afraid that if it went to court and I got a Democrat judge that liked Harvard, that he could rule against me, he or she could rule against me. I also learned that copyright law is not really situated for these kinds of situations, because the theft of ideas is not a crime or misdemeanor. It has to be policed by institutions. And so it's okay. Harvard, even the lawyers said in the letter that copyright, it's not a violation of copyright law, the theft of ideas. They said that what she took from me was de minimis, meaning it wasn't that much, and that it was fair use. And when you think about fair use, you think of use. I know, but I mean,
It's
that's
not.
what they said. And
Well,
then they
but Carol,
pretty much,
fair use, in my understanding, and I'm in the broadcast world, so it's different. But fair use is I can grab, let's say that you do an interview somewhere. I can grab the interview, you saying what you're saying, then I can criticize you or give commentary on it. That's what fair use is. But you said she based her dissertation as what you did, your thoughts, your wonderful book. She based what she was doing her dissertation on
well, let me
what
make
you
it
did,
clear.
right?
What she did was take my conclusion, because even though I was a Democrat, my research was considered provocative. I made the argument that that whites could represent blacks, blacks could represent whites. I challenged the whole idea that only blacks could represent blacks.
Yes, great.
She used some of my conclusions to frame her research question, to make it seem like, she had come up with this important research question. And so what she did was use my research to set up a straw man. Her conclusions are different, but she used my work for her whole setup
Right.
for the dissertation.
So it's not fair use by definition. What she had to do was say, Dr. Carol Swain said this. Here's how I'm going to prove her wrong. Now she can do that, but she didn't do that. She just pretended she pulled it out of the sky.
Well, let me tell you this. My book won 3 national prizes, cited by the Supreme Court, got lots of attention. Her committee members, people in political science, would have known. They let her get away with it. And I think it was because my work was not, it was controversial.
It wasn't in line.
It wasn't saying the right things.
Right. It wasn't in line. You have to get in line.
No, it wasn't. And even though I was a Democrat at the time, if they don't like you, then they just won't cite your work. They are steal your work, but they won't cite it.
These people are nuts. It is Dr. Carol Swain. Go to carolmswain.com. Follow her at Carol M. Swain over on X. She's a great follow. The book is one you've got to get to find out everything that really happened with this situation. The Gay affair, Harvard plagiarism, the death of academic integrity. There it is, showing it on the screen right now. It's Dr. Carol Swain. Doc, I could talk to you for 2 hours. I would like to get into next time, why is it that people like Joe Biden and this Claudine Gay and others feel so free to not do their own work, just steal stuff, pretend like it's theirs? At least he got caught in 1988, but the guy still made it to president. We got to go there next time, and there's so much more I want to talk to you about. Can we do it again soon?
We certainly can, and have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. Happy New Year as well, and I always appreciate the friendship and the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're back after this. Stay right here.